Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the E-Tims podcast. My name is Desi Mond, and tonight, so far, I am glad to say I've at least been joined by one of the motley crew, the man from the Iberian Peninsula, Monty C. Burns. Good evening, Monty.
Good evening, Desi. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. We've got quite a few things to talk about and cheer and smile about, let's be honest. I think a lot of people in the Celtic family are smiling ever since this weekend. Hector Bandido, for all the tacticians fans out there, and I know there are quite a few, Hector's not available. He's away doing his Celtic Grandad CSC stint over in America, seeing his grandson. We are hoping that Rich stroke Ralph can join us, but he is currently preparing for a massive corporate fight, so to speak, with a major conglomerate. So he may not be available, but keep your eyes on the news because you may see him leading some picket lines very soon. So that would be very interesting.
Like I have an image of the fucking Joker from Batman.
Is this like the pitchforks in The Simpsons? That's what I keep thinking. I'm up against the real Monty C. Burns. So everyone, you're being warned. If you're waiting on any deliveries over the next few weeks, you would get them in quick. That's all I'm willing to say at this point in time. But yes. So it's just myself and Monty at this point in time. Hopefully Ralph can join, but we can't guarantee it. If he does come on, that'll be great. If not, we'll just muddle through. So Monty, we did hope to have this last week, and then one thing led to another, and we never managed it. But as fate would have it, that was a good turn because it's been a monumental week. But we're going to step back to the start of September, just to have a quick review, and I'd just like to ask, how was September for you? I'm going to give you a wee rundown of September, right? An overview. Mm-hmm. So September for Celtic and ourselves, we had a 1-0 win at Ibrox. We had a 3-0 win at home to Dundee. We had a 2-0 defeat at Feyenoord. We had a 3-0 win away to Livingston with 10 men. We gave new contracts. I know you are the financial man of E-Tims. We gave new contracts to Matt O'Reilly and Maeda, just announced before the Motherwell game. And of course, we had that game on Saturday, which we're going to come on to talk about. But how has September been for you? This is a general idea.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's up there. Like it's a good
9 to 9. Would be saying 9 to 9 out of 10.
I would have given it 9.5. Only we've lost the services of one of our deep undercovers across the city.
Yes. Agent Orange, come on in. Your job's done.
Come on in, me old China. Yeah. Okay, or whatever cliche type of marketing thing you wish to do. It's been a good month, I think, Desi, because all of we talked early in the tenure of Rodgers, Rodgers 2, you get things done in the first 90 days. Yeah. And if you look at what we've done in the first 90 days, it's exactly that. It's his gig now. Hector alluded to it on I think the WhatsApp and in the previous podcast. He's now coming out with the Brendanisms. We all fucking bought into that. Team's starting to look really sharp, starting to really feel like the identity and a wee bit more control, dare I say, than we had under the gung-ho of Ange is coming through. The results speak for themselves. Even the 9 men against Feyenoord and the way that we kind of backed the wall on it. What we did with 10 men against Livy. But we never, actually, I watched that game scratching my head going, oh, fuck no. And then as the game went on, I went, we actually don't look like we're a man down. Actually, this is incredible. And we stood up to the physicality, and we stood up there very well with young kids, a young team. Ibrox was just fun for so many different levels, including the foul, not foul interpretation of the rules. And now we get to the end of a very glorious month, and unfortunate circumstances over the last 48 hours lead us to a downer, which makes it an 8.5 out of 10 and not 9.5. Because I'd have loved them to have stayed for another 3 months.
To be fair, okay, I will roll back my 99 out of 10 statement and maybe go for an 85 out of 10 because I did forget about the discipline problems that we clearly have at Celtic with all these people getting sent off. So I'm surprised that's not been the headlines in the last 72 hours.
Oh, it's coming. You're guaranteed. There's a negative coming somewhere. But
yeah, and of course, if only the officials had done their job at Ibrox, then who knows what? It's a classic. It's a classic. An official fails to wave his flag at Ibrox, and a tsunami comes around the corner. I mean, what's the chances?
Hugh Keevins is frantically digging out the back looking for his granny's ball. Would have been his granddad.
I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but again, like with that Motherwell game, we'll come in a second. The classic Celtic scoring in the last second. But he also, after not even learning that lesson, I was then listening to the Rangers game an hour later, to which point he goes, there is no way back for Rangers. And obviously he's watching some stream that's later than my Fire Stick, because I'm watching Seema score. They scored at 2-1. I'm going, why does he do that?
As we could recommend a good IPTV provider.
Exactly. Maybe we should contact GOAT at Twitter. We can recommend Wally and Kev to the boy. I'd recommend them. Yeah. So that, and again, because I was going to joke at how bad September had been, the fact we'd actually lost all those goals. I mean, like 2 to Feyenoord and 1 to Motherwell. But again, from your perspective, just a wee tangent, the new contracts. I think especially Maeda was a big. Hatate was a big surprise. I wrote Maeda by mistake. Rio Hatate, I think that was a big shock to everyone. We all hoped it would happen, but it seemed to be it wasn't really going anywhere. Or let's wait and see. And then suddenly, before the Motherwell game, everyone's going, "Oh, lovely! That's a nice touch."
I think there's a couple of things, Desi, and it's back to the 90, first 90 days. That's when you make your mark, you get hold of things. But I think there's also, I'm funny, I wasn't expecting the O'Reilly thing as quick as the Hatate thing, which was a lovely bonus sitting down to watch the Motherwell match on Saturday. And I was thinking, that's a proper alignment of football management and corporate management. So what do you mean? You're giving them all big bumper contracts. Of course you are, but you've also protected the value of what are extremely valuable assets who are only going to now appreciate in value.
Yeah.
But there's also all sorts of signals around harmony and settlement and buying into the manager, which are guaranteed if they didn't like them, they wouldn't have signed contracts. And I think what I settled on thinking about it was, I wonder, has Rodgers, in his 5 years that he's been away, or 4 years, whatever it is, I'm wondering, did he learn the Dembele lesson?
I was going to say, let's be honest, in your heart, he never actually left, did he?
No, he's been here.
He's always there somewhere. His shadow hung over Celtic Park for you like a dark cloud.
As you come out the tunnel to a rousing Champions League anthem, there was always a gap. Players could sense it as they walked up that tunnel.
It was like something for Harry Potter. He resided in the tear in your eye. That's what
it's like the 12 seats on the bench, but there was 13 and a quarter, because the other 1 and a quarter was for he that was missing but still amongst us. And I'm hoping for patter like this as we qualify for Europe after Christmas.
That'd be lovely. Yes, nice.
But I do think he learned the Dembele lesson. The players hold all the power, but the players who respect a manager, who will say, listen, you have another year or two's development, and then you'll go, and you won't go to, no disrespect, you won't go to Southampton. You won't go to Leeds in the Championship. You can go to the Premier League, but you need to hang about here for at least another year or two. And in order for me to let you do that, I'm going to make you a far better individual footballer if you believe in what I'm doing. But the club needs to protect that too. So you sign that, get extra wage, 12 months, 18 months. If you're good to go, you're good to go. And all of his messaging, Desi, Hector picked up on this. Hector thought maybe he was just a little bit too reserved or a wee bit too sullen. Mm-hmm. All his messaging at the start was exactly this. That we're a club that develops players. And he said it about O'Reilly. He says, you'd love them to stay, but, you develop them and you get them to the level, and hey, you know what happens.
Yeah. So
I think there's a bit of humility there that maybe 43-year-old Rodgers didn't have when he came to Celtic, where now he's 50. He's a lot more of a mature, I would suggest, fella. So really good business by the club, really good strategic business by the corporate side of the club. And from the footballing side, Desi, fucking bang on the money. We've kept our best players.
Yeah, and just you highlight there, especially Matt O'Reilly really does seem to be enjoying his football and his football environment. Every kind of post you see from him is, I love it here and I love playing football here. It's not just that way. I love scoring goals, and you always just get the feeling they're looking elsewhere. Possibility of getting promoted to the Denmark full squad now, so another wee reward there. But again, I think it's like Hatate, even in September, Hatate returns, and it's just, we've talked about this many times, but it's just the different. Even Rodgers had to know after 2 games, he brings something totally different. It's the whole speed. The speed of ball movement is just unbelievable compared to everybody else. Even your Callum McGregor's obviously a great tactician, no brain, but he can't see where the ball's meant to go as quickly as Hatate can, which is just unbelievable. And people complain every now and again, stray passes, etc. But that's the whole point, because he might make that stray, he might make that pass 10 times and it goes astray, even 4 times out of 10, but 6 times somebody like Kyo goes in and goal. That's a hearty reward, isn't it? So that's what we need.
That on the O'Reilly thing, we talked when Ange was here about the type of character that he signed, players with something to prove, and players who seemed intelligent and who bought into Celtic ethos. And there's a few things that O'Reilly has said in the last couple of days around the club. He was talking about, yes, I love playing here, but he was also talking about the charity work and the visits they do to the hospitals and all the stuff that goes on in the background, that you're at more than just a football club. And I know that's a glib thing to say. Most clubs will have their thing in the community. And ironically, I was up in the hills above the Algarve at the weekend, and I seen the Benfica orphans bus. I didn't know this was a thing. So they have a huge thing in the community around Lisbon, around the orphans of Benfica. And they take these kids, and in some cases, adults, they take them on tours all around Portugal. And they take them on tours on Benfica branded buses, as if they're part of the club. I thought it was just fucking phenomenal, just sitting watching it, having a coffee, and the 30-degree sunshine and the scenery didn't help, or didn't do no negative on it. But you're part of more than a club here. Yeah. I know we say that as fans, and we believe it, and we live and believe it, and footballers can come and go, but O'Reilly seems they've got that. And on the Hatate thing, you're spot on. And I know Hector would be waxing lyrical tactically about where he fits now into the system. I think Hatate's Rodgers' kind of joker card. He doesn't mind him playing that 10 times pass and it coming off 6. But I suspect when we get into the European arena at the weekend or the midweek, Hatate himself will maybe just not try it 10 times. He might try it 7. That wee bit more maturity in our system and how we're playing, Desi, I think is, I see it evolving, or maybe I'm looking through Brenton tinted glasses, but I see it happening at the minute, and it's great to watch, and Hatate's just critical to it. Yeah, no,
it's weird, and that, again, we're getting off tangent, but even like watching that Rangers game the other day, and I know they may have injuries to what they would look at as their normal midfield, but it was like Aberdeen, you're playing Aberdeen at home, and they're playing Lundstrom and Jack, like 2 holding midfielders. And I'm like myself, do we even have a holding midfielder? I mean, like Callum McGregor's like an orchestrator, right? He's not going to tackle anybody. He's maybe going to shadow somebody and try to direct somebody down the wrong side, etc. But he's not exactly going to be flying into tackles or putting people up in the air. I mean, we don't really have that approach football-wise, which made me kind of compare them, chalk and cheese.
I think it's probably part of the limitations of not only the coach, but the structural limitations over there as well. Again, watching that, and obviously plenty of time on my hands this weekend, thinking about us in the 90s and signing the likes of Mike Galloway. And Mike Galloway was our midfield enforcer, because maybe that was the vogue thing to do at the time. He was a decent footballer, but he's Ryan Jack. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no intent, to put a better footballer in there. It always had to be this, square peg for the square hole. And I look at our midfield and the fluency of it. The nearest thing we have to a holding midfielder is Iwata. But Iwata is technically exceptional, supposedly. Just can't get into the team. We signed the big Korean guy, Kwon, but he's a development project. He's obviously not near the team, but he would be that type of modern holding midfielder. You know,
the new Beaton, I believe.
The new Beaton.
That's the phrase, the new Beaton. Yeah, but again, like Iwata, yes, everybody talked to him. Maybe he'll go back to Japan. First thing he comes out and says is, I now know what I need to do to develop to get into this team.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's a sub warming up. No, that way he's no longer just on the bench. He's also starting to get warmed up, and I would assume, especially in the home games, he'll maybe start to get the last 20 minutes, and then before you know it, where he ends up.
Because O'Reilly will go cold. He's only 22. Hatate will go cold at some point. McGregor, ironically, last season, Desi, I think we played some of our best football when McGregor was injured, and O'Reilly went back to 6. Really
Blasphemy.
I know, how dare I say it?
Somewhere there's a million Celtic ears burning going, someone's talking bad about Callum McGregor.
No, don't get me wrong. I just thought that in the system that we had, with Ange especially, that O'Reilly's physical traits were just better matched to that 6 than McGregor's orchestration. You know, it's just an observation at the time. I thought, I just thought we played lots of really good football. And O'Reilly tanked not long after that when McGregor came back in, if you recall. He kind of disappeared a little bit. He faded. But that's probably because you're only 21.
Yeah, apologies. But yeah, it's kind of the same. We touched on it a few years ago, I think. The whole get the ball and everybody just looks at Scott Brown because they assume that he's the guy we're going to get. No, that way, rather than saying, it's mine, I'll go and I'll take. And that was something that I quite liked at the weekend when we're against Motherwell, struggling. And again, this shows you what Brendan Rodgers knows compared to what an idiot like myself knows. You're screaming at the TV because he's bringing on Nat Phillips. And I mean, you're like, why? I mean, we're needing a goal here and you're bringing on a central defender. But suddenly he starts passing it and coming forward with it. No, that way, and you're like, oh, right, wait a minute. I can see there's a wee bit. He's a different style of centre. And I know the modern centre half, but compared to your Lager Bielka on Saturday, you suddenly saw a difference. And then he's moving up the park. And if you watch that second half, you see he's constantly between the centre line and then their 18-yard line, looking to be that extra man and looking to make that pass. And you're kind of like, all right, that'll be lovely.
And that's that extra 3 or 4 years of experience and quality from Liverpool versus where Lager Bielka came from. So, and I think also probably with one eye on Wednesday, because he's going to start on Wednesday along with Scales. So we seem to be constantly operating in a bigger picture, which is brilliant. We're not reactive. We seem to proact both in terms of how we're playing, but our substitutions, and that's down to having a top tier manager, Desi. It's just what he brings, and I think back to your first opening question on September. I think when you replay the month and you look at our progression, we're starting to get there. And the scary thing, which is wonderful for us, is if we can retain that ethos of never going right until the final whistle. Not to go back on last year's phrase of we never stop. We can keep that. We can add more quality and a bit more structure under Rodgers, and keep that, building up this pace. We seem to be getting faster in our execution.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, isn't it?
Great.
Even Motherwell, you could see we were getting down from the 3 touches to the 2 touches. I know Hatate doesn't take. Sometimes Hatate hardly takes any touches. He just lets the ball run. I mean, he's one end of the scale, and then I'm not picking on anybody, but then you've got like a Turnbull who'll stop it, turn it, pass it, look, no, that way. So it's the difference between 1 second or 0 seconds and 2 seconds. Yeah. And in football, that's enough time for a defender to get back in or a midfielder to close down a space. But again, so I mean, you can see progression, which again was a bit of the argument regards a certain person losing their job, which we'll come to. But regards September, we new contracts for O'Reilly and Hatate Saturday morning. Well, again, that was a strange thing. We did a classic reverse Rangers, whereby we announced good news late on a Friday night. Remember, Rangers had the habit of always like announcing emergency share issues or this latest court cases after 5 o'clock on a Friday night. Where I was like, I think like a lot of that passed everybody by, like we were kind of oblivious. Yeah. So then it came to Fir Park. So then we go to Motherwell. Motherwell are flying. Stuart Kettlewell's get named in so well. I think we were like almost level pegging in results, points, etc. since he'd taken over. Going to Fir Park's always been hard for us. Always, for some reason, it's one of the places we always get a game, and then it was like it goes on and on and on, and you're wondering where's the goals going to come from. Kyogo was having one of those days where the game just passes him by. He's trying to come and find it, and it's just not getting to him. Maeda, he wasn't really in the game. No, that way, like the people who'd been kind of good in September, it kind of faded out the game a wee bit. So then your elite manager, Rodgers, decides, right, what I want to do is I want to put James Forrest on and I want to put Nat Phillips on. I'm screaming at the TV because I can't see what the point in this is. And then he decides, right, I'm going to take off those 3 Japanese guys who have been so important recently. Hatate, Maeda and Kyogo. And on come our subs. And then it's a case of, like, where's this going to go? And then up steps little Mr. Palmer with a beautiful curling. Some say it was a cross, but I'm not believing that for a second. Obviously meant that bounce to go right into the bottom corner. So that was a nice way to welcome him to the club, wasn't it?
I think he shot. I do. I think he just knew I'm gonna go for that far corner, and if someone gets a touch, brilliant, because it's one of them ones that players practice, I guess. I'm just actually scrolling here on the WhatsApp looking for your message on James Forrest. Sorry, at 14:06 on Saturday it was James Forrest. Why?
yeah. And I also tweeted James Forrest is the answer to a question which is worthy of Taskmaster. Because if anybody can tell me what the question to which James Forrest would be, the answer. I just don't. It's just a weird plan for me.
Just reading it, because on our WhatsApp it was at 14:06 James Forrest, why? Followed by 14:27 myself, for fuck's sake. Followed by 14:28, never in doubt.
Exactly. And Brendan, we trust all of a sudden. He obviously.
14:31, fuck me.
It's football, eh? No wonder. Well, I've hardly any here, and Ralph's not get any.
There's a great photo, two really, really good clips of Rodgers' reaction. The one where he runs onto the pitch, which as someone pointed out, he never done it. Ever, probably. And the other one where he just turns around to one of the coaches and he just laughs like, fuck.
that is the game of jail cards used this year. Thank you, Mr. Waddington.
Yeah, the first one. But,
someone's monopoly set for Christmas. Celtic monopoly set for Christmas is missing one get out of jail card.
But I think you touched upon Iwata and you touched upon Palma. Just in terms of players, like Iwata, I now know what I need to do to get in the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I watched Palma, who's new to the club, new to the culture, doesn't speak English. And at the end, they were trying to get him to go over and lead the chant, the Hugo chant. And you can see him, he's really reluctant to do it. And then he does it really awkwardly. And it's this sense of growing into the role. And I think there's a huge cultural thing, I think, with the Japanese players too, which is be interesting. I know when Rodgers took the job, I mentioned, I don't think he's ever managed Asian players before, ever.
Yep.
Or players from that part of the world. I watched his reaction. Was hugging him like he was hugging his dad at the end of the match. Big proper man hugs, big bear hugs. Iwata's now, and Rodgers is a very, very intelligent man. He is, patter and all aside that we wind him up for. He's a very, very intelligent man, and he believes in what he's saying. He's just one of those people. I suspect he'll bring those guys out of their shells as far as he can, and then it'll be down to their ability. And Palma strikes me as one of those players, does he? He's got loads of technical ability, but when we signed him, there was all this talk about him being explosive and being able to beat the man. Like they're saying like he'll go past anybody, and he was doing it in Greece. But he hasn't really shown that for us yet. And you know how some players can just play within themselves or just be that wee bit tense. I think we'll see a lot out of him, especially over the next while. Because who do you pick to start on that wing with Abada out? It's between him and Yang. Maeda is always going to start. Yeah. He's given his quality. So between him and Yang, there's a really, really good battle for that side of the pitch at the minute. And Yang, to me, looks like he's the opposite. He's trying too hard. If he just relax a wee bit.
Because there did seem to be there's no so much a backlash, but just a kind of shrug, let's say, about Yang's performance, and I was kind of trying to push back on quite a few folk on Twitter today, and I'm kind of going, the guy's trying his best. He's coming to a new club. He's coming to a new team, which the team itself is trying to find its place. I mean, it's not as if we've got 10 guys flying and he's suddenly having to be stuck in and just suddenly find your form. So I think it's like an accumulation of a lot of factors that he deserves a lot more time. It's not his fault that he's suddenly getting told, right, get up to speed right now because we'll get various other injuries, which you weren't expected to hit the ground running. And again, he's also cursed by the Hatate Maeda Kyogo touch, whereby they all did hit the ground running. So people just judge one against the other, and rather than judge them like say an O's not exactly been the greatest striker, but everybody's quite happy to be patient with him. Know that he will come good, that kind of thing. So I think Yang's got a lot of time still to be. Deserves a lot of time just to actually find his place. Yeah, we've still got Mikey Johnson, of course.
Mikey Johnson.
He was on the bench recently.
Yeah, he's fit again, isn't he, Desi?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was on the bench recently. I was waiting on you champion your Republic of Ireland superstar.
But James McCarthy? Is he
well, everybody's wondering where he actually went because he never made it into the Celtic photo, the official team photo for September. So he's a guy that's put. Remember, it used to be the photos used to be like the gym benches, but like on top of it, so you'd have the sitting down the front row and then the big centre halves at the back with the goalkeepers. He's the guy that's putting the benches away now, I think. I mean, this is save John Clark the hassle. Right.
So here, for 35, 40 grand a week, did you not do that?
Right, well, another 3 years to go, man. That got something like at least 3 or 2 years to go in that contract. But as I say, like, I think we were told at the time, it's the whole Gordon Brown financial management, how to make things look good on paper by putting them off paper, so to speak. So you pay James McCarthy 2 years Premiership wages over 4 years, and that looks fine on paper, but in reality you're paying the guy 2 years Premiership wages. Let's be honest, we all know how it works. It's the Scott Sinclair. You'll get a lot of bonuses, but you'll have a basic £1 less than Scott Brown, that kind of thing.
That type of world that you manage the money and you spread it out, but it gives you the opportunity. And at the end of the day, he hasn't been the worst signing we've ever made. He just
so somewhere Mr. Barkas and Mr. Compere are sitting wondering why their ears are burning. Yeah, we'll get a lot worse than that.
Dirk Berichter right now is counting his fucking oodles going, that'll be me.
He's suddenly feeling a pain in his hip and he doesn't know why. Or his sick note is suddenly writing itself out. His doctor's prescription pad is starting to write itself and it doesn't know why. So a quick recap. So Saturday, like that goal, the first goal, marvellous, and then they scored. And it's been a while since we've had one of the gut punches. No, oh fuck. And I'm sitting and like the first goal, I actually tweeted this. I've just physically shouted yes at the telly. Because normally you're watching a normal game and it's just like, oh, I've scored, all good. But then that was just one of the tense moments. Because again, Rangers could have maybe brought it back to 2 points or whatever, I think, depending on how things were working out. So it was like, oh good, great, that's it, we've scored. And then 95 minutes, the ball's bobbling up, the guy sells him a dummy, bottom corner goal, and it's just like, fuck right off. You know what I mean? It was just, the worst thing about being a member of the Firestick CSC community is everybody's watching the game at a different time. So Twitter suddenly cannot believe that, and you're going, did they score? Did we score? I don't know who scored. Your telly's still kick off again.
For fuck's sake.
Might just still get Greg Taylor. Might just still get one wee Motherwell steward watching 20 fans on the pitch. I mean, wondering when we're going to kick off again. But then so again, I've just written down here, this you mentioned Hector would be going on about Hatate. I'm just sad that he's not here because once again, we're relying on a man to step up and save the game, and up the steps, Greg Taylor. I mean, Greg Taylor, He gets up off the ground after being felled, says, give me the ball, looks up and delivers a perfect cross, and also does the running to let Palmer get his shot in. I mean, it went, and so that kind of unsung hero, everybody notices when he doesn't do anything great, but when he does do everything great, they just go, well, that's his job. And you got, come on, you've got to have a bit of balance here. The guy saved the game.
I think we maybe just accept players' limitations a hell of a lot quicker than the ones across the town. And Taylor's limitations, ironically, are physical. There's fuck all he can do about it. Mm-hmm. He's short, he's not big, and he's not athletic. But sounds like myself actually going to describe them.
I've seen you in a Celtic strip, actually, at Celtic Park. I don't know if you've ever mentioned that on this podcast.
Did I? I haven't talked about my goal scoring record at Celtic Park because I don't like warming up.
Immaculate.
I don't like mentioning the goal every weekend. But anyway,
it's not the same with Hector.
No, because I don't think he's ever scored at Celtic Park. Anyway, sorry, we're going over.
Very disappointing, as someone else would say.
But see, now I'm reminiscing about
Taylor, we're talking about Taylor.
I think his limitations we accept, but when you see him on game, like under Postecoglou, he was arguably Player of the Year. There was an argument for him. He was just superb because he's got an attacking instinct maybe that's equal, if not trumping, his defensive instincts, which is grand if you're in a team that's doing well. But if not, you get exposed very rapidly. And the Huns were targeting him, and you could see other teams trying to adopt it from kickoff, lump a big ball on top of Greg Taylor. Libby did it. Put two big 6'4" guys against him. Of course, he's going to win a fucking header. Big deal. But I think he became a victim of that perception monkey. But it's very, very rapidly off his back. He's come on to the game. He's on form. He's obviously the first choice left back. Rodgers obviously doesn't like Burnaby. No. And I don't think it's just the fact that he slept in one morning. It could be an attitudinal thing. Or, you don't know. He doesn't rate him. So it's Taylor's shirt. Realistically, our only other option at left back is what? Scales. If Burnaby's in the picture. So he's also a leader of the group. Again, someone else was talking about the change room. It might have been O'Reilly talking about Hart, McGregor, Taylor. It was actually Ralston talking about the four of them. Now think about that. Tony Ralston and Greg Taylor are two of your main, this is fucking Celtic Football Club. This is what it's about, boys. Welcome. But understand this is what's expected of you. So I think another boy who's just grown into, he's at his peak. If you can keep him at that level, he's a very, very decent fullback, Desi. But Wednesday night gives him a completely different challenge. And we all say it about him, well, maybe not for Europe, because you're comparing him with Alistair Johnson, who is a modern fullback. Yeah. 6'1", athletic, defends like a fucking Trojan and loves getting forward. Taylor's 5'8", if he even is that. He might even be 5'7". He gets forward like fuck, but he'll get found out physically at the back. So, but no, great to see him, and he comes across as a really decent, likeable fella too. I don't know what the normal reports of him are.
Well, this is that. I think again, they'll get the old baggage at Kilmarnock, the Rangers family, blah blah blah. But as you said, he's also one of the ones. He's walked into Celtic and he's embraced the opportunity to be a Celtic, and then again became one of the senior players in that squad, one of the actual leaders that you need for it. Like Joe Hart, like as Anne said, I knew I needed leaders in general. People who actually pick other people up and lead by example rather than just being your superstar. Somebody's going to be a superstar.
Didn't Lenny sign him second time round, like 2017 or something? Taylor been here 6 or 7 years.
We'd have to check.
I'm pretty sure.
I was just thinking there, as you said there, but he's kind of like the reverse Lustig, because Lustig was tall, and then he used to get slagged for not being fast enough. Remember, he's too slow. And I said when I sat almost right in line with the 18-yard line, I was sitting right in front. Well, Lustig was right in front of me, and I could see Lustig was the guy who was leading that line, telling everybody to come out. He was the guy running up the park and helping James Forrest. He was the guy doing an overlap so James Forrest could do that cutting in. But nobody ever cared about that. They just cared about every now and again somebody would hit a diagonal, it would go into the bottom corner, and Lustig would be chasing some fast winger, and it would be, his legs are going. You're going, the guy just ran about 10 kilometres in the last hour, but suddenly you're complaining about one day having no pass. And then, and I also noticed if you looked at our WhatsApp, one of those, I called it before it happened, and I highlighted that young left back Aberdeen. What a physique. Get hit, and then sure enough, he rattled goals in a cracker, and then he scores a goal. I mean, and I was saying to Ali Begg and Graham Hunter on Twitter, big Aberdeen fans, we'll give you 500 grand and a set of bibs. Just send Mackenzie down to us in January, because he would be the ideal sort of signing. You could bed him in for a year, and then Taylor could show him the ropes, so to speak, and bring him on to what's expected, and then they two could vie for the position, knowing that guy is going to be the future. No, rather than letting another Hickey go, or these sort of things, letting these people pass us by, we should be going and saying, right, Aberdeen, what do you need? Or even we'll give him back for a year. You can have him back for a year, but we want to sign that. We want to claim that guy now.
Because you're into the same, the homegrown talent and all that, which is important for you. If I just checked there as you were talking, Taylor signed September 2019, so he was a Lennon signing. But I thought it was a couple of years before that. It just shows you how embedded he is now. He's only been here 4 years. I thought he was maybe 5 or 6, but he's still only 25, by the way. I thought Taylor was 27, 28. So again, you look at the nucleus of what we have, Desi, just to maybe segue and bring it back. They're all the right age. You know what I mean? This comes back to the opening discussion even on the assets of the business. You look at Johnson, Taylor, at the minute, the two kids playing centre half in relative terms.
Yeah.
But they're all 23, 24, 25 maximum. Then you go in the midfield, and outside of McGregor, who's 30, you have Hattati, 23, 24, O'Reilly, 22, Home, just turned 20, maybe 19 even, 20.
We can look it up. Yeah, I think it's Kyogo. Kyogo's 28, and he's one of the oldest.
He's 28. Maeda 25. Abada's 22. In fact, Abada's 21. Yang 21. You do just this fucking brilliant nucleus of young talent. And if Rodgers can
22.
22. Mm-hmm. If Rodgers can develop these players in the way that he's renowned for, then from a development and an excitement point of view, we've got a really, really good clutch of kids there. And if you can add one or two like Mackenzie as you go, then the models work. The model works. The model's proven. Yep. And there's a couple there you could say arguably slipped through the net. What do you call the Brentford fullback? Went to Bologna. Hickey.
Yep.
I would even argue Lewis Ferguson, who's now captaining that team in Italy. He was worth a punt, but he's not a technician in the way we would presume it. And I'm not even sure, is he getting into the Scotland midfield? Is he making the squad?
Who, Ferguson? No, what's his first name again?
Lewis Ferguson.
No, he's on the bench.
He's in the squad.
He's up against your John McGinns, so he's not got much chance. But he comes on as a sub now and again.
McGinn, McTominay. Who's the other Scottish midfielder? McGinn, McTominay, McGregor, obviously.
That's all right. Cal Mack likes to play every game. Yeah, so every now and again they bring Ryan Jack on for the last 5 minutes just to keep them happy. So quick, last thing on September, a question for you. Who would be your player of the month? So I've just written down here, Matt O'Reilly, Scales, Maeda, Scott Bain. Who saw Scott Bain being in the contenders for player of the month? I'm not saying he is, but I can't believe Scott Bain's actually playing. That's just, and Seekvist, I just assumed Seekvist was the number 2. Scott Bain was the guy that carried the bips. But shocking.
Again, Rodgers signed him. Mm-hmm. Rodgers brought him to the club. Rodgers obviously had a relationship on prior. Segrist is a strange one, and I've seen some coverage of it over the weekend too. Obviously something in the background there. Either the fella is a bit of a knob, or he doesn't fit in, or he doesn't like the place, or he's got an injury, or he's just...
Or it might have just been one of those inconvenient timing injuries. No, he's about to step in, something happened. We'll give him a benefit of the doubt. But Brendan Rodgers did say during the week regards the whole Joe Hart thing. Well, Joe Hart, he has the age he is. There's no getting away from it. But we have to look at position, but we also have to look at the whole squad in relation to goalkeepers. So Scott Bain's just got a 4-year contract, so I assume he'll be the the backup's backup, so to speak. He'll be the long term. He's fine.
He's there. He's there for the drills and the exercises and keeping it right on the bench.
Yeah, maybe he might even be doing his coaching badges. Who knows? No, like a lot of players, they do that idea. But that was a strange one. So who would be your player of the month?
I'd give it the Scales. I'd give it the Scales. No, genuinely, without. And I think we talked about him in pre-season. And I remember we asked the question, stick or twist. He didn't do anything wrong in pre-season, but he's not a big name. He's not foreign. Well, he's foreign to you lot because he's Irish. You know, that Celtic cousin things is a load of bollocks. We've learned over the years. But
hold on, is there a border suddenly in the sea? Are you putting up a wall in the sea here all of a sudden?
Bordering island, separate island altogether. I think Scales is, and again, similar to Taylor, he's at a ceiling or he's at a peak, and Rodgers can maybe squeeze another 1 or 2% out of him by coaching, but ultimately he's just a good, solid left-sided centre half. Is he ever going to 15 or 20 million? No. And again, circumstances and timing, Desi, had those other boys not get injured, he'd have probably been starting for Aberdeen and Ibrox on Saturday. Or Sunday, sorry. So
I was shocked he never made it. I did tweet that he's been seen heading along the motorway heading to Ibrox after Fir Park. But this is you were saying that there. One of the other words I was thinking about. I've not checked his injury record, but at least for Celtic so far, is he's been robust. I mean, he's been into every tackle. He's not one of these players that this kind of hide, or he's there every time. Occasionally, like Saturday, he may go for a head and it may bounce off his head like a 50p piece, but he's always in there. He's always making himself available, and he's also getting involved.
And that's a development thing. That's a confidence thing. You got to grow into a starting shirt in any team. It doesn't matter what level, even at my own fucking limited level. Didn't matter what club, or you got a shirt, and then you had to earn it, and then you had to earn to keep it. So you can imagine a professional level where these guys are their livelihood. They're playing for their livelihood as much as playing the game. But he knows that Carter Vickers is going to come back and Navrocki's going to come back. There's 5 of them there for 2 starting positions, and in reality, the other 2 boys, certainly 2 of them, are signed for big money. Phillips is here, and if he likes it, will probably stay. But all he can do is just keep doing what he's doing, and as long as he doesn't have, and this is the pressure on someone like that, as long as you don't fuck up, you'll probably stay in the team.
Well, given the circumstances of what's happened, which we're going to come on to, you get to the end of December, Nat Phillips' loan's up, and you'll get the opportunity to renew it, possibly, or you can just let Scales further develop. If you're at Celtic, that's a decision you've got to make. That's not an easy decision where you go, let's just throw another £1 million at Liverpool to pay his wages. So, if you know what I mean, you've got a case that you can just say, right, Scales has already proven that he can fill in that space. Let's just give him the gig, and we'll go with what we have, because Naroki's back fit, Lagerbielke's fit, so we've got 4 centre halves again. We don't really need a loanee from Liverpool, unless, I'm nothing against Nat Phillips, I'm just saying that's your choices that you're going to have to make. But it's a case of, well, we stick with Nat Phillips and maybe even sign him. Well, that's fine. Again, you're raising the quality of the team. That would be fine by me too. But Scales is going to make them make a decision.
See, remember we had this last year too with Jens. Remember Big Morris Jens?
Mm-hmm. There's a player in there somewhere, I believe.
There always was. Right? He's playing Bundesliga with Wolfsburg. I'm just reading here. I signed him on a 4-year contract from Lorient. He went to Schalke. Really, really made big headlines. Schalke, unfortunately, still got relegated. So then they sent him back to France, but then Wolfsburg signed him. And I remember at the time, we had a bit of a challenge at centre-half last year, the second half of the season. And we were talking about, was Jens Big Angie's blind spot? Because there was a player in there. And we let him go. And then we ended up exposed at the back somewhat when Carter Vickers had to go and get a surgery. But by that stage, the league was done, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You could be looking at Phillips as a replacement for Carter Vickers. if the big lad wants to further his ambitions elsewhere. Again, Celtic's not doing him any harm. He's making good money. He's playing with his national team when he's fit. He's winning trophies. He's playing Champions League. Other than money, there's really, and the Jota tragicomedy that's played out in Saudi. You got to feel for him too, because again, came across a really decent fella, but life-changing money is life-changing money. But to go from 40 grand a week at Celtic to double that or 100 grand,
at least triple that, exactly.
Jota, if you take it tax-free, Jota went for, what was he on, 30 grand a week at Celtic to the guts of 200 grand a week after tax. That's a 7x, 8x multiple on your wages. No one says no to that. So in the same way, if the English Premier League come knocking for Carter Vickers, he has a decision to make. He can go there now and maybe double his money or treble his money than what he's getting at Celtic. And it's not, I've tried since the Jota thing, and even with the likes of Juranovic, players move on just to better things. No different than you and I. Is he looking for, not even a career move, but you look for your next contract and you look for a bit more money. It's no big deal. But if all those boxes are ticked, you're at the pinnacle of your career. You've got national team football. So for O'Reilly will make the Danish senior squad at Celtic with Champions League football, with now 30 40 grand a week. Why the fuck would you leave for another year or two? Until you're bored of it. Until you think, right, I can't do anymore. The same way Rodgers said when he left the first time after the guts of 3 years or 2.5 years. I can't take it any further. I've done everything I can.
Yeah.
So maybe Phillips is there as a fallback, and if Big Carter Vickers doesn't want to hang about, it's a good option to have. If Phillips likes it and we like him and the money works, take him. You can't have too many you can't have too many good players, Desi.
I think we can't have too many bad players, as we have witnessed over the years. That is just victim fatigue talking there. You've not managed to shake the 90s off yet. So I would agree about Scales. Matt O'Reilly is clearly in a beautiful place, a beautiful man in a beautiful place right now. Great to have Hatate back. Maeda, I think, again, is stepped up really in Rodgers' eyes. Maeda, I think, is viewed by Rodgers the same way Maeda was viewed by Postecoglou. Yes. They can see how much he means to a team, how much ground he can cover, how he's a defending attacker, if that makes sense. No, that way he's a midfielder stroke attacker stroke. At one point on Saturday, he basically held down to our 18-yard line and went through a guy. No, that way you're going, you may be a winger. That and the whole shoulders and a different level. But Scales again having to step up every game. He's going to step up every game because he knows everybody's waiting on him making that balls up. And like Michael Stewart, I usually like Michael Stewart, but every now and again it's like, I'm trying to remember who it was with Starfelt. This say it was Sutton. I can't remember exactly. Might have been Stewart, no, but they always just like Hector. They always just see the badness in players. You see the goodness in players, and he sees the badness.
Especially if they're Swedish. Hector just never liked any Swedish Celtic player.
Even Larsson. Didn't like Larsson.
You fucking never did.
You don't like Magnus Hedman's wife. That was the only person I remember he liked. And ABBA. He's a big ABBA fan. We can say that when he's not here. As in, we used to say, Carl Vickers and Starfelt haven't lost a league game. Don't care. He's rotten. He's not at the level you need. And you're kind of like, come on, you've got to just see things differently. Yeah. But Scales definitely has really stepped up. And long may it continue. As you say, once you've got that jersey, it's up to somebody. You can only lose it or somebody can take it off you. So if he keeps doing it in training and everybody gets back fit and it's a case of, well, Carter Vickers, we all assume he's number one, but maybe a case of, we don't need to rush back. No, we can ease him back. Like Postecoglou, we've talked about this before. Loved his favourites and we'd rush players back and we'd all have our heart in our hands every 20 minutes waiting for a hamstring to go. That kind of idea. So it would be nice if we just we get Carter Vickers back, but we're aiming towards the end of the year, the big game, the big Rangers game. We're just going to make sure he's good for that, or the last European game at Feyenoord. Rather than saying back in you go, we're desperate. So I mean, we know Scales you'll get a minimum 6 out of 10. And I think the limitation, you're not going to get a 10. You might get 7.5.
Yeah.
But that's fine. There's another guy next to him to help clean up.
For your centre halves, like he'll get a really good test, and I hope he overcomes it in midweek. It'll be against a top tier Italian team.
I've got some dark reading for you later. Don't worry. Right. So we'll save Lazio. Let's go to full time. As you say, Brendan Rodgers running a bit like a mad Mourinho at the end. Our get out of jail card's been well and truly used. We're seasonal get out of jail card. It's just a Celtic thing these days. And the thing is, the first thing everybody now says when that happens is, can you imagine how sick the Rangers fans must be? So that was Twitter was ablaze with everybody laughing at how upset Rangers fans would have been. And I always talk about the adrenaline crash. You know what I mean? Like the excitement and then the crash. And I honestly think that must have transferred to the players. Because we came to that Aberdeen game, Rangers-Aberdeen, and Rangers, all right, they could have scored a couple of goals if that Dessers was any good. But they never. And then suddenly Aberdeen went, wait a minute, this mob are rotten. We can take them. And Aberdeen played, I don't care, I watched that game and Aberdeen played them off the park.
Yep.
I mean, everybody, your Kenny Miller's trying to maintain, or Aberdeen just sat behind the ball and looked for set pieces. They made the set pieces because they were attacking all the time. No, that's the idea. It was ridiculous to try and say it was an even, or Rangers should have won it, blah, blah, blah. No chance. Aberdeen could have scored 5. And then, sure enough, boo at the very end. And it's amazing. Like this, I mean, you and I are of a certain vintage, but it's amazing how much that still makes your weekend, isn't it? Before anything else happened on the Sunday, just the Saturday, how much joy it gives you just to hear boo and full time at Ibrox, boo. And watching James Tavernier having to drag 6 players round in front of an empty Ibrox. Dogs abuse off the fans. And the Rangers TV, when I was watching Aberdeen TV, and find me that this kept lingering on that way. There wasn't me. This followed everybody, the rubber camera, and it was just a joy to watch. I mean, wonderful.
I think I asked the question in our WhatsApp that I was trying to do the math even today because the Paddy Power trolling them, saying that they're after their 7th manager in their 11-year history. And then I was trying to remember our dark days in the 90s, although they're horrible places to go, thinking, how many managers did we go through? We went through Macari, Brady, Barnes, Venglos, Tommy Burns, and then we found Janssen. And then
I'll tell you, I'll read it to you. I'm on the Celtic site.
Mowbray.
Okay. Well done. Liam Brady, God bless, 91 to 93.
Yep, 2 years.
I can't believe it lasted 2 years. Then Lou Macari, I can still remember walking up Stockwell Street to the old days of the newspaper having the headlines on the bit of paper, like the stand, and it's Macari sacked. Remember what? Tommy Burns 94 to 97, and then Wim Janssen 97, 98, and then Venglos 98, 99. John Barnes, let's just quickly move on. So again, that was like a year. They each like Janssen a year or a season, Venglos a year, Barnes a year if you're lucky, and then Martin O'Neill 2000 to 2005.
That was my thing, right? Even in the darkest of the fucking toilet of those 3 1-year things, we never really turned on Venglos. And I'm not trying to remember it through green tinted sort of we're just brilliant. We never really turned on him. We never really turned on Barnes. Like, we didn't like it, but we didn't turn on him. Macari just was a victim of his circumstance. Fergus turned up and he's on the fucking hotline doing bets for the premium £2 a month.
And saying, don't worry, I'll be home tomorrow.
Will you fucking stay in Glasgow for the job?
It's a Monday morning and we've got playing till Saturday.
Clear your desk, fuck off. So Macari doesn't count. We gave Brady 2 years. We gave Tommy Burns, God rest him, 3 years. We gave them all a chance. And then we had this real fucking mad defibrillator thing of 3 1-year appointments where we just didn't know what we were doing. And then we got our shit together. O'Neill, 5 years. Strachan, 3 years. Lennon, 3 years. Now there's a Mowbray in there somewhere.
That's still the worst, because it's still like at the time. I remember Frank Skinner announcing, "Thank you very much, Celtic, for giving us £2 million for a man we were about to sack the next day." I mean, like, we were in the Friday and they were sacking him on the Saturday. 2009. But again, he did win the Wembley Cup. So fair play to him. He did win a trophy. So a bit like someone else, he did win a trophy.
He did win a trophy. But inside that, we've always had stability unless we made a really bad mistake. And we seem to deal with the mistake quickly. But I don't recall us, other than the sack the board years, where we really had a common fucking enemy, because the board was destroying the club and brought it to the brink of death. Have we ever really turned? The 10 in a row season with Lennon is just an aberration. Best forgot. Just a bunch of these really strange behaviours in a mad time. I think in history when we write that in future years. But I don't think we've ever turned. Really turned.
We tend to go for the board. We tend to. I don't know if it's a working class, former working mentality, so to speak, but we look towards the man in charge, the man in the suit in the boardroom, so to speak, because traditionally that's always been the Celtic fans' enemy, isn't it? Let's be honest, back to history. All throughout history, that's always been. You've just hit the fucking nail on the head, actually, hadn't you? You've just sparked a mad thought in my head. That is the difference in mentalities. We've always fought against control, where they always defer to control and fight amongst themselves. So the board, the sugar daddy, the yes sir, the big house must stay open, all that madness that they have, that's their mentality. It's it's never the board's fault. It's the troops letting them down. It's like the first fucking, God rest their fucking hundreds of thousands of the lunatics over the fucking top in the Somme. They'd never query, you sent me to my death, but I have to do it. It's my duty. Where we'd be going, hold on a minute, you can't get you up first. Fuck you, you go first. I'll follow you. You're Captain Melchett. Right. We're the Blackadder every fucking day of the week. Hold on a minute here. So what's the dog's body's name again? Oh fuck! Don't no. What's his name? Boom. I'm just saying. Imagine we can't remember. That shows how old we are. We can't remember. That's how old we are now, Desi. Fucking brain fog. But your point is bang on. We turn on the guy in power because it's the guy in power who's actually making the fucking decisions. Baldrick. There you go. Boom. Baldrick. How could we forget Baldrick? Ironically, with a very, very similar sort of look and feel to the most recent incumbent in the seat across the city. But I think those boos are kind of funny in a tragic way, because they're heartfelt and you don't like laughing at other people's misfortune. But I know there's genuine bears in among that who are pulling themselves apart. And we know how the 90s felt, and it was fucking grotesquely sore and painful. But we never turned on the ones that were at least trying. And I think that's what sets us apart. It's really interesting to say that, because I'd already written this down, and this is from a call that was on Radio Clyde tonight, whereby a guy came on and it had been like 5 rants after another. Oh, raging, blah, 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 blah. And this guy comes on and like, Tam's a Rangers fan. What's your thoughts, Tam? I went, we need to get this sorted out, right? He's like, blah, blah, I'm sick to it, and you just thought it's another call. But then he turned around and goes, you know what this is? He's like, this is this history repeating itself, but from the other side. He's like, in the 90s, he's like, what we need, he's like, years ago, in the 90s, when we were flying, Celtic kept appointing this one, that one, the other one, just clutching at straws with no plan. He's like, we need, and he's like, Rangers now, we need a Martin O'Neill. We need to go and get a guy who's going to be able to say, no, this is how it's going to be. This is what I've done my bit. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and bring me this. And this you're saying that there. That's exactly. And I've just written dead ends. So we were going to do all these dead ends. And eventually we got to get a 3-point turn, which took 3 seasons to actually get going in the right direction. But hopefully they don't do that, because again, they'll still get the financial constraint of trying to catch us. And then if we get into the Champions League next year, that's another boost that we get compared to them.
That's the thing, Desi. I think I pinged one up. I don't know whether it was on our WhatsApp or to a couple of mates going, who do they go for? And it's not really our business, but McInnes is a prime candidate if he wants it. Kettlewell would be a great appointment for them if he wants it. Muscat would be a really, really good appointment for them if he wants it. But every one of those guys will be walking into a club in the knowledge that they are at a huge financial disadvantage, that they're going to inherit a poorer quality of player, and that advantage is inbuilt. It's not something you can make up in a year, because you don't have a trading model, you don't have assets, you don't have a client base who you can fleece any further. All of those other business parameters, Desi, that strategic decision and the decision to stick where we can tolerate. We don't measure ourselves by losing a league now and again. And they'll get lucky now and again, Desi. They'll get a Janssen. They had it in the COVID year with Gerrard. Yeah. They'll get another one. It might be next year. It could be 5 years now. It could be 2 years. It could even be fucking this year. Who knows? They'll get one. But it doesn't mean that we turn on an entire playing base. We're just not wired that way. So I can't imagine how difficult it must have been for Beale, even though he's a clown. I can't imagine how difficult it would be for anyone to consider taking that job, because you're on a fucking hiding to nothing. Unless you're arrogant enough to believe that you can change it. Because O'Neill's arrogance, and O'Neill's, this is what we're fucking doing now, plus the money that he got to spend to go and sign arrogant players who are going to go through walls for him, like Lennon, Sutton, fucking Hartson. You look at Bobo Baldy, you look at all of O'Neill's signings, Desi, the core. There were boys who were going, I'm fucking here to do a number on you, but they could back up their price tag with quality. They don't have the finances to do that. They spunked 100 million to stop us doing 10 in a row, Desi. They're funked.
Yeah, I was checking my phone there. This you said the word arrogant, because I was trying to find, I don't know if you'll remember, a good couple of years ago, I was lucky enough to be in New York for Christmas, and I happened to be sitting watching the Simon game in Jack Dempsey's, and a guy was sitting beside me. I get talking to him. Turned out he was part of the Melbourne CSC in Australia, and he was coming here, and we end up going to Boston together to watch getting a Rangers defeat, but I kept in touch with him. So then when Ange came in, remember, like, again, who's Ange Postecoglou? And I wrote, Harry, what do you think about Ange? He went, fucking arrogant prick. He was raging, right? He was raging. He wasn't happy. He didn't like him. Blah, 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 blah. But we all know, as we've all seen by the evidence, evidently, even it's, but Ange Postecoglou has got that arrogance, stroke, confidence, whatever you want to say, but drive, direction, simple-minded attitude of, this is how it's going to be, and this is where I'm taking you. If you want to come, you can come. If you don't want to come, you can fall by the wayside. And then when I pinged Harry after, like, we won the league or whatever, I wanted to think, yeah, Celtic have changed them, Paul. So that was his get out. Being at Celtic has changed them, my man. Very good. So maybe they did need that, but I tweeted the other day a joke about Rangers. That's the Rangers job interview questionnaire being leaked. 1, do you believe you can beat Brendan Rodgers? 2, do you believe you can beat Brendan Rodgers with no budget? 3, do you believe you can beat Brendan Rodgers with no budget and selling your best players? I know they've not got many good players, but even Ralph had already hinted that Butland was apparently already talking about. Yep, exactly. He'd already been talking about an exit plan. And again, then your Goldson and your Taverniers, they're all around side of 30 now. No, that's the idea. So it's a case of, right, well, I'm going to need to build a team. Well, we've not got any money. You have to make do what you've got, or sell them for a discount, because they do it. And we talked about this before. Everybody that Bill signed was not wanted by their clubs. The one they wanted. So it's not as if we're picking up rising stars. These were people who were getting discarded.
And they also let the cat out of the bag after they got hammered by PSV, and someone put the budget to me, said, listen, See the numbers you're quoting, they're a million miles off what we actually paid for them boys. And that's again the lack of experience and the naivety in the man, because he's showing his hand. So all of those things, the only way that we knew nothing about Janssen. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm, yep.
We knew nothing, and it started off like a fucking house collapsing, never mind a house on fire, and then bit by bit it clicked, and that can happen. But ultimately, their best bet is a left field appointment who's strong enough mentally to back themselves, irrespective of the type of player that they're given, who's got nothing to lose. Because remember, Ange had nothing to lose coming to Celtic. And again, in our WhatsApp, if we were to stick with the Citigroup sort of strategy, Muscat was the obvious next in line after Ange.
Maresca, remember?
And Maresca, yeah. So you could see that, but again, the problem is these boys are coming from environments where winning and being part of that Citigroup and professionalism and structure and higher end quality is at the heart of it, and all that costs money. You look at Guardiola's backroom staff that he brought on the pitch after they won the Champions League, fucking 50 of them. You're not going to get that. They've just had to cough up whatever, 5, 6, 7 million to get rid of a bunch of management. Hence Davies, and by the way, there's a great, you call the Italian painter, Caravaggio, is it? Caravaggio painted all the scenes where you have to watch where the eyes are to see what's really going on. The guy with the knife hidden. There's a great photo of fucking Beale and all the Rangers dignitaries and who's sitting behind him with a big fucking grin and darting eyes, only Alex Ray. And I hope it was photoshopped, because if it's not, it's a fucking Caravaggio.
From Armed Forces Day on Saturday.
Armed Forces Day on Saturday.
Everybody was putting up Etude Boutte. Everybody was writing Etude Boutte. And because again, it was a classic. What goes around comes around. After Michael Beale got to the Loud in the Bristol bar. Exactly. And somebody actually a Rangers fan raising that on Clyde tonight, and Gordon Duncan on Clyde said, I wondered if this would come up. Not why I felt like saying, not one of you mentioned it when he got the job, did you? No. And Kenny Miller, the cheat to go, I thought that was a bit underhand. Kenny Miller in the last 24 hours has went from, no, I don't think he'll be sacked. I think he'll still be given time to, I thought it was time. I mean, you're like, you're a dirty crawling snake. You'd say empty to get a gig, honestly. But and it's that funny. Like, my wife is like, she was at school with Alex Ray. She's known. I've met Alex Ray when I've been in her company and stuff. And I was like, there's your pal Alex. She's like, he's always been at Rangers, even when he was training as a schoolboy and that, right? And I'm like, and she comes in from work today. This is last night. She's talking about Alex, always been involved with Rangers fight. She comes in from work today and she went, they don't like Alex Ray, do they? Talking about Rangers fans. She'd been seeing all the reaction on Facebook and stuff. Apparently he's been getting dogs abuse just for the Rangers fans. So Michael Beale, I actually think the whole ethos, the problem is he was a championship I don't even know if he's a championship level manager, a championship manager who, again, the English mentality, and I'm no disparaging all of England here, but they believe Scotland's Premier League isn't even of a level of the Championship in England, so we just need to fill it with players like who'll be good in the Championship, your Kieran Dowles, etc., and they'll run riot, your Todd Cantwells, and we'll run riot up there. And you're like, you just don't understand. It's a different level for your Diddy Championship. I mean, you can't just walk in with that mentality.
I picked up, I had a cracking character I came across through work years and years ago, Desi. He owned a big fucking timber import company in the south, and he had a consultancy business. And I'll not name him, but he had this great phrase that he used, and we were in a session with him. He says that the key thing about, you really want to know what's going on, you have to listen for the note that's out of tune. Well, he said, every conversation, everybody's got a message, and we speak in intonation and we filter and all that, but ultimately there's a message there. And if you're really, really good at listening, or really, really good at interpreting even the words, you'll spot the note that's out of tune, because everyone talks at a particular pace with a particular pitch, but the reveal is subconscious. Your voice either gets faster, your pitch goes up a little bit or goes down a bit, and you can't help it. You can't control it. It just comes out. Beale was asked last season, and I probably read too much into this shit and think I'm fucking all right. But he was asked last season about, goals and whatnot. And he said, very early in his tenure, he says, well, I've assembled a team now that, by and large, can look after the rest of the Scottish Premier League. Said it. It was out of him before he even fucking knew it was out of him. And it was padded by a load of stuff and then followed up by a load of stuff. In his mind and in his arrogance, he believed that it didn't matter. He just had to beat Celtic. And you still have that football arrogance that suggests that somehow the league title comes down to 4 games and the rest of them kind of even out over the year. Well, here we are, 7 games in and they're 7 points behind. They should have been 9 points behind. We were just atrocious against St Johnstone that day. It's not about, ironically now, and it probably hasn't been since the O'Neill and McLeish days. It's not about what you do against it's not about what you do against each other. It's about how you can maintain it over the 38 games, Desi. You're absolutely right. And that arrogance that somehow championship level players will just come up and fucking stoat about here. Robson proved that completely wrong on Sunday. And I wouldn't bet against St Mirren. By the way, another candidate for that job would be Robinson at St Mirren. And he'd take it. He'd back himself. Horrible little fucker too.
But again, this is a great problem, and I mean great problem as in we can laugh and smile at it. The great problem your Rangers directors that have, etc., is who would the Rangers fans accept? Because they still play simply the best before every game, and they still believe for some mad reason that they are the number one team in the world, and they need a guy who's a proven winner, because Rangers are winners, and you go, when was that exactly? As in a consistent basis, what do you mean by that? So again, and now we're down to the any new manager would bite your hands off for this great opportunity. You're in a semi-finals, you're in Europe, you've done so, they've won one game, you've got a great chance of qualifying in Europe, blah, 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 not why the world's your oyster, come to Ibrox. But it's basically a case of come to Ibrox and know more than likely 90% of the time you're going to be second. If you're lucky, you're going to be second. And how many seasons would their fans accept them being second? Because then they don't turn on the board, they turn on the manager, as we've talked about.
They could get Robinson, who would be Rangers minded. They could get McInnes, who's a former player, and play the most beautiful style of football, similarly to what we did under Tommy Burns, God rest him. And they might win a Scottish Cup, doing the same way that we did under Tommy Burns. But that's most likely the best outcome, unless they could find a Janssen. And in order to find a Janssen,
you need to find a Larson.
There you go. You beat me to it.
Sorry.
You beat me to it. In order, you get Janssen, who's a great coach, but you still need this fucking golden egg. And it doesn't exist anymore. Or if it does, there's 20 other clubs with far better infrastructure and money looking at it right now. So, and they don't have a youth setup that is some sort of mad conveyor belt. They don't have an under-21 team that's dominating or a B team that's dominating. They don't have any of these things.
They have a B team.
Yeah. So if you look at it, if you're an ambitious manager, what's the best you can do? You can hope for a one-off. We could get a horrible run of injuries. Something could happen. Rodgers could lose the plot. There's so many uncontrollable variables.
Or get offered the Chelsea job or the Everton job.
Which he won't take.
Yeah, I keep saying it. I've been saying Everton since August, and I still like to repeat. I was the person who did tell you Andrew would not be here this year a year ago. I did say that a year ago.
43-year-old Brandon would have took those jobs. 50-year-old Brandon will not.
I still maintain he's waiting for the England job. He's the next shoe in for the England job if Southgate's still there in 2 years. I think that would be a nice one for. I can see him win the World Cup with England just to annoy everybody.
I think he'll go to Spain. I think he'll go to Valencia or Barcelona.
Or maybe Mallorca. He's got
a house there, and hey, why not? Money's not his driver. So yeah, but
so Bale's gone again. So again, that's the arrogance that can't back it up compared to your Ange Postecoglou's, because it's like strange. I don't want to go on about Ange, but Just to compare and contrast. Like my wife, who doesn't care about football, that Spurs game's on at the weekend, and the team are walking on the pitch. And again, I don't know, did the English teams always do this, walking on the pitch at the end? Because I don't remember seeing that until season's end. But now suddenly they all seem to be doing the same huddles and walking on the pitches. But at the end, he's walking on the pitch, and the DJ puts on Angels, and they sing "I'm loving Postecoglou instead." And my wife went, "Oh, they love him, don't they?" No, that way I'm kind of going, "There's a guy who's backed it up." And I said, "Oh, it's strange because he was the last person they all wanted. That whole not my hand, and all that. What I mean, that hashtag." And then suddenly it's like, wait a minute, this guy's a real deal. I mean, and again, totally underestimated the Scottish League and what it actually takes to be a successful football manager.
And ironically, this is where, and Beale never came across as a particularly nice character. And I'm not just saying that because we're tinged by who he managed. He came across as very snide or arrogant. But then there was another side of him, that football nerd, but you can have a little bit of sympathy for the guy because he took on a huge challenge, a huge football club. But when you look at the manner of him leaving QPR, you look at the whole statement on loyalty and all that, the guy's obviously a fucking shitebag. But the arrogance to do that, not the arrogance, let's call it confidence, misplaced confidence, which is the same thing.
Let's call it cuntishness if you want.
There you go. To be that type of snide cunt, to ditch, it's like leaving the missus for the young one, and the young one turns out to be fucking, no, I'll not even go there. Terrible analogies. He's fucked it. He's fucked his career, but there's a huge difference, and I put it in the WhatsApp, there's a huge difference between being a coach and being a manager. Yeah. And that's a level of arrogance that fella, obviously, he drank his own Kool-Aid at Villa when he realised how poor a manager fucking Gerrard was with a different type of dressing room, not a dressing room that was deferring to him. Mm-hmm. Gerrard fucked Villa royally for a year and a half, if not more. Beale left thinking he'd be a better number one now. He's learned everything. He goes to QPR, he gets him flying, then he gets tapped on the shoulder for the Wolves job, which...
Yeah, don't forget, he lost 5 in a row before he left QPR.
But he lost 5 in a row after he got tapped on the shoulder for the Wolves job. So the shite bagging in him, because he brought loads of young players to QPR. I'm here for the long haul. I'm going to develop here. We're all going to get the Premier League. And first fucking job, he's going to take it. I think a lot of it, Desi, in the analogy of Ange at Spurs, comes down to the integrity of the man. And I think a lot of why Rodgers is back at Celtic now is to repair the damage that he believes that he did. I don't believe he did. I felt as jilted as everybody else. But he's a professional. He's a professional. I forgive him in a way that I hope he can forgive us.
until Danny McGreen stands next to him, I will never forgive him. That's all I am saying to you. But let's not go down that old road. But again, I think the Brendan Rodgers factor is now the dark shadow that hangs over Ibrox. Because you've got to find a manager who believes in his heart and soul that through his own talents, not through the footballing talents, because he's not got the footballers there, that he can create a team that can beat and overtake Brendan Rodgers' Celtic within 18 months. Because I honestly think they'll write this season off. They'll just say, try and get through the next stages of Europe if you can. We'll get to the October window, but I posted today, the November and December fixtures are horrendous.
Yeah.
It's shocking. I mean, they'll get something like 6 away games, and then they've got to play 2 big European games. They've got Aberdeen away, Hearts away, I think, us away. I mean, so it's a baptism of fire. Obviously, if you come through that, if you're Neil Warnocks or whoever it is, they end up appointing, come through that, well, that'll be great for them, but it's very, very unlikely, let's be honest. Everybody's already expecting a draw at St Mirren would be an okay result for Stephen Davis and Alex Ray. You know what I mean? That's how bad it is.
It would be good for them, ironically, if the game against us was happening quicker.
Yeah.
Because they have a marker. You know, they've got to get, and they probably will.
And the adrenaline can go up for that. It's hard to get your adrenaline up for St Mirren away. And all respect.
And St Mirren away is a difficult fixture now.
No, when you're doing the doldrums, it's hard to lift yourself.
But St Mirren away is a difficult fixture, ironically, because of the work that Robinson's done there. Mm-hmm. They're tough, good team. I think I wouldn't just get us so far ahead at the minute they say they'll write off the season. I think that's intolerable, Phil. But, Davis has never managed the top level football team. Ray,
Sacked 4 times.
Yeah, is a bit of a fucking idiot. You're talking then about a rabble rousing. Come on, lads, let's get into these bastards. What are they doing right now? Are they running
110%. Leave it all out there.
Leave a mark on them.
Jersey.
Leave a mark on them. Fucking get your excuse in. All that shit.
Punching the fist into the palm of the hand and all that.
All that. For a bunch of boys who've turned up from Brazil, fucking Holland, Italy, some of them barely speak English. Well, then neither does Ray. So you're into a fucking,
that's the East End for you. Well, we've seen Hector's not here.
But you're into a mad scenario that you always expect the manager gets sacked to get a bounce. But Beale didn't come across as particularly unliked by his players. He got a few weepy, sorry you're gone, boss things from Cantwell and Danilo, I think, today. We've got a few difficult fixtures coming up wrapped around Atletico Madrid. We're away to Hibs and away to Hearts, I think, in the same week. And that for us is a big week, but you're right, Desi, their fixtures are really, really difficult now.
I'm just thinking like because I think the given logic is they'll be looking to appoint somebody during the international break.
Yes.
So your Davis and your Ray will get the next 2 weeks or so, and then we'll fall into the international break, and then come the end of that, then it'll be time for the grand announcement. I mean, the marble staircase, that classic Murray Park overhead shot holding the scarf aloft, that nonsense that they always do. But then it's like, okay, let's get into business. Gulp. When you look at from November to the end of December, and it's like 3 games over the Christmas week. I know it's like madness, the fixture congestion. So anyway, not that we're complaining. That'll be just say we've got our own problems that we need to address and concentrate. But again, your Brendan Rodgers and your Celtic setup, they will just focus on their own job, get that done, and then Rangers can fall by the wayside. Right, so that brings us up to, we'll move on for Beale. We'll have a wee laugh on the outro, but for moving on for Beale, we've got Wednesday night, Lazio, right? So I gave you, just to give you a sense of proportion here, I gave you the Celtic performances in September. Lazio September results. They beat Napoli away, right? They drew with Atletico. They get beat by Juve. They beat Torino, and they drew with Monza, and they get beat by Milan. So, how do you think it's going to go on Wednesday? Heart and head, what do you think?
Heart and head, both aligned at the minute. I think we're going to win.
Big statement, that.
And I only say that off the back of my eyewitness sort of evidence of the last month, where I think we're becoming more and more Brendan's team. Our structures, the way we're playing, the speed at which we're executing. There's even little patterns, Desi. I don't know if you picked up on the pattern as to how Taylor got free to cross the ball in the 97th minute. There's little ways that we're playing, and they're just exchanges. But it draws, it drew the Motherwell player who was tracking Taylor in. And Taylor then moved that little bit wider, but he held his position. He didn't go forward any further. He just held in a zone that the space had opened up. And I think, I can't mind who it was. I can't remember who knocked the ball out to him. Was it Phillips?
Phillips, I think it was Phillips.
Phillips. The space was there. And I seen, and again, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I seen just little patterns and little interchanges and little things that, we're starting to click. And I remember at the start this year, when after the St. Johnson game, I think it was McGregor said, it was a wee bit of information overload, so we just stripped it back down to basics. Sometimes you do that. Sometimes you overprogram them, and then you bring them all the way back to the simple things because they already know the answer to the next question before you've asked them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Desi, I really do. I think we'll win. I think we'll win on Wednesday night. I'm looking forward to watching it further up the Iberian Peninsula in Barcelona.
Oh, nice. Are they at home this week, Barcelona?
No, they're away, unfortunately. I was really looking forward to going this weekend. And I even would have went up to Espanyol, but they're fucking both away from home this weekend. So just going to take in a few sights and enjoy it.
Nice. No, I think I'm going to go for a 2-2 I still think we're a work in progress. I still think we need to find somehow for it to work for Kyogo. He's still a little bit lost at times in the game. Like I don't think we hit the byline enough to pull it back, for him to do that dart and run, for Matt O'Reilly to just to pass it into the corner. No, we're not doing that all the time or a lot. We're not doing it often enough to be consistent about it. So I think we're still to reach day. I think if you were to say to Rodgers, he'd probably say we're currently 5 out of 10 on his scale of there's major rooms for improvement. So as we get towards the Feyenoord game at the end, I'm assuming we'll be flying. But again, if Nat Phillips starts, then that's a new dynamic for a centre-half who can actually carry and pass. Because your skills and your Lagerbielke, they're just there to clear their lines. And let's be honest, at the moment, they're doing a fine job as well as they can, but it's a different dimension. So I'll go for 2-2. So that's that, really. So thanks very much to everyone for listening. We're just going to end with a wee tribute to Mr. Beale, who's now departed. But before I do, I'll just say thank you very much, Monty, for joining me.
Enjoyed the chat, Desi. Great to talk.
Yeah, this shows you two old men can talk about hilarious things happening over at Ibrox quite easily for an hour and a half. Yeah, hopefully Ralph and Hector will be back for the next podcast, which will probably be either mid or late October, given our schedules. But other than that, I'm just going to close out with Michael, they have taken you away. And for poor Michael, it's all been a bit of a blur. Thank you and good night.
Michael, congratulations on the new role. Just tell us the responsibility you've taken on becoming the Rangers manager.
Confidence is a preference for the habitual voyeur of what is known as...
Well, listen, I'm speaking after a defeat, so look, I don't think everything at Rangers is broken and everything at Celtic is rosy.
A morning suit can be avoided if you take a route straight through what is known as...
He would have 2-2 if the officials would have done their job correctly in the last game.
John's got brewer's fruit, he gets intimidated by the dirty pigeons. They love a bit of him.
I think we have shown at times that we are going places, we are moving forward without a doubt.
Who's that gut lord marching? You should cut down on your pork life, mate. Get some exercise.
Well, that's somebody else's decision, so all I can do is continue with the job as best as I can.
All the people